The first one is I want to give you a taste of how learning at different a pathway is going to be different. Now, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen. Kids are going to get to go at their own pace. Every day when you come to school, you're going to study what you want to be when you get older. And math, science, English, and social study, that's all weaved into that. So if I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to learn English through nursing. That means I'm going to write and read case studies. Science is going to be more about biology and how the body works. Math is going to be about conversions. If I want to be in construction, math, we're talking about angles. Science, we're going to talk about, or history, we're going to talk about how the history of construction has changed over time. So everything you do is going to be geared towards you as a student. Now, you don't, if you ask me, somebody asked me, Jordan, ask me, I don't know what I want to be when I get older. What's up with that? Ask me, come on. What happens if I don't know what I want to be?
I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's a great question, Jordan. Great question. I actually, teachers won't put you on the spot like that. I did Jordan like that because I love Jordan. I know. I get to know you all right? But if you don't know what you want to be when you get older, that's fine. We're going to give you an interest inventory as soon as you walk in. I'll start talking to some of you now about what you want to be when you get older. And we'll figure this thing out together. I promise you it is going to be the greatest experience you've ever had educationally. Best yet. Now, to kick us off, I've got Jason Osborne and Bernie from Sideglass. They're going to talk to you guys about a crazy experience of learning. How many of you, if you don't mind, you don't have to raise your hand, are learning about the heart in science class right now? Anybody? Awesome. Jason and Bernie, can we give them a round of applause?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. My name is Jason Osborne.
I'm Bernie Barragun.
And we're here to show you a little bit of virtual reality. So how many of you ever used, say, an Oculus or a virtual reality headsets? That's pretty awesome. There's quite a few, right? So it is not a trend, it is a thing. It is here, and you know, our workforces are migrating to virtual and augmented reality. School systems are transitioning into that virtual reality and augmented reality. You hear a lot about AI, so at Sideglass, we are a virtual reality curriculum and science firm. We incorporate AI into our tool for scientific purposes to help understand, say, the brain. And this video right here, some of you might have heard this earlier, so if you heard me say what this is, I want to try to see if somebody else can guess what kind of critter that is. It's a head of a critter, obviously. Anybody guess? I guarantee you all saw one of these in your life, probably more often than you wish. An ant? That's a good guess. It's not an ant, it's a good guess. How about those pesky little things that come out at nighttime in your house? Right. So this is actually a CT scan of a cockroach. So there's a lot of interesting facts around cockroaches, and they're very similar to their anatomy, especially their physiology of their brain is very similar to a human brain. So a lot of researchers study things like cockroaches, right? So what I'm doing here is showing you an example of a CT scan. So if you ever went to the doctor and you got a scan or an MRI scan, this is one of a cockroach, and you can see all of the muscle and the brain tissue. So imagine if you're in environmental science class and you're learning from the actual data. Not some cartoonistic thing that you would see in a book, but you're actually getting to play with the real scientific data that's used in science now. So that's what we're about. We're partnering with universities and institutes around the world, and we're bringing the data into the classroom. So your child has an opportunity to work with the same data as a scientist or researcher. A lot going on. There's going to be a data dump, so sorry about that. So at Sideglass, we're really targeted on how do we simultaneously evolve with research, the medical institutes, with science, And how do we evolve in a way that that's what your child is doing in the classroom? So every year, the classroom experience is very different from the year before. Because the data changes, the science changes, the research changes. And that's what's exciting about this academy, is they're willing to really investigate and also really invest in that mindset, that your students are constantly going to be on the cutting edge of what's happening. So when you graduate, imagine if you could write on your resume that you worked on medical data with Johns Hopkins Hospital. And you can write that on your resume and you applied to a college. You think you're going to stand out? Absolutely. We have some fantastic stories about that. Students in the Permian Basin you'll see a silhouette of a guy right here, but this is how big you can blow up data. So those of you who like to go fishing, this is actually a fish. You wouldn't normally catch one of these. This is what's called a zebra fish. It's only this big, but you can see you can blow it up as big as a house. So now you can explore things at resolution and size you can never imagine because of the capabilities of virtual reality. And that's basically how it feels to go in there. It's really cool. So you'll get to try some of that if you want. Some more examples. So here you see you can bring in anatomy of a real human. So you can do comparative anatomy. You can compare a healthy brain with a tumor, right? A healthy lung versus not a healthy lung. So you learn about pathologies. You can learn. Here's a chameleon in the actual egg. So it's an embryo of a chameleon. So when you think about environmental science, when you're looking at different species, you can look at them from a whole nother lens. And this is real medical data as well. So the opportunity to peel off layers of actual real data. Again, to have that at your fingertips. Just to give you an idea, most of the top STEM schools in the country don't have access to this. So they're just now starting to learn about this. And you know, I go up to New York in a couple weeks, actually next week, to talk to them because they realize that what we have here in the Permian, they don't have yet. So that's really, really exciting. Another example of a lesson. So here a professor is in teaching human anatomy. Student can grab the data, it stops the narration. They can pause the narration and they can look at the data at their own leisure, hit the play button, it snaps right back to the lesson. So that means you have personal learning, right? You have, you can learn at your own pace. I think you mentioned it earlier, that you have that opportunity to really learn at your pace and how you do it with the lessons. We're currently partnering with Diamondback here locally. We built some STEM labs. And this is very much what we're talking about here at both Young Women's Leadership Academy in Midland, as well as Legacy High School. So if any of you ever get out around in that area, maybe we can connect you and you can go and see one of those campuses. This is really getting into weeds, but just showing you just different lessons, and you have a capstone component that this is where you contribute to real active research. There's hands-on, so not just virtual reality, but if you're gonna learn, say how neurons work or motor neurons in our body work, you have that opportunity to learn that through doing physiology experiments.
So what you'll notice, guys, is that how many of you have packets with you? Let me direct you to page 2. So that first page is our mission. We'll come back to that, but go to page 2. That first sentence is what we're bringing to Big Spring. A world-class learning experience where students become well-connected, influential problem solvers. And you can stop there. My mission is not just to be another school here. It is truly to create something that's world-class, because our students deserve the same things that the kids in the city that are able to get. Why should we be less than just because we're in a rural area? Why don't we have access to Johns Hopkins University? Why don't we have access to Tulane? Well, we do now, and it's right here at Pathway.
Speaking of Tulane, so this is actually the University of South Florida. But what you have the opportunity to do is interact with, this is a student interacting with a postdoc at the University of South Florida. And what the students were doing is they were looking at how the brain develops. So how does it develop from, say a young child to an adult? And they're proving out scientific methodologies with a university, exporting their data and incorporating the Pythagorean theorem into spreadsheets. Now think about that. That's postdoc level work in high school, and kids do it. And so and they can do it. It's not intimidating. When kids have that opportunity and they get it in front of them and they see how easy it is, all of you could be a neuroscientist to an extent, right? It's very reachable. And just an example, here's you think about your banana. So I want you to think about this when you go home. You have those little fruit flies around your banana. So this is another scan of one of those fruit flies. So again, you can see things at a whole nother level, and you'll see it, and it'll really change your life because you won't think about it the same way anymore. Just like this fruit fly, you see the muscle tissue, you see everything involved. So next time you see one in your banana, like, wow, I got to see one of those things blowing up in virtual reality. And lastly, I'll show you something else that your students have that access or things that you can do. This is real human anatomy here, and this is the kidneys. They can go into virtual reality. They can isolate areas of the kidney, and they can send it out in a file to 3D print. So you can build a whole skeleton. You can build a whole human, based off the scans and isolated data within virtual reality. Now it becomes a whole nother level of experience. And they're doing it in France. I mean, these are all PhDs and medical students using this tool, same tool, exporting data, human data, and from CT scans and MRIs and 3D printing, all for learning. I will leave you at that. And any questions? A lot of information.
All right. Can we give Jason a hand? So this time, do I have anybody who wants to try out the virtual reality? Come on up, let's go. Let's give them a round of applause. Hey, can you mute me real quick? What I'd like to do this time is introduce you to a couple of people while he's getting ready. First off, our board president is Mr. Joel De La Garza. Man, he has been in the battlefield with me. He drove to Austin, stood up there for an hour and a half while we were being questioned. We put in lots of countless hours. There were times he and I thought maybe we couldn't get this done. It was rough, but we got it done. We were the only school to unanimously be approved. So at this time, could we give him a round of applause? Thank
you. I'm going to be a good steward of your time, and so I'm so excited. And just looking at that, I mean, if you don't get excited about that, honestly, and I'm going to challenge you guys really real quick, especially those of you kind of on the fence of do I do it, do I not? Okay, and I get it. But here's the thing: is at some point you got to say, I'm getting tired of the world dictating who I am and what I'm going to do. Okay, this gives you an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm not going to settle for average anymore. I'm not going to be that person no more. Okay? And parents, guardians, the ones that are here because of your loved ones, now you get to be a part of that. This is a collective effort. This isn't just Dr. McAllister and some other folks. And that's why I agreed to chair this board, because of the passion. But you got to have more than passion. You got to have work ethic, right? And you got to say, you know what, make a decision. Someday say, you know what, I'm going to do things that are hard to do. And that's what's going to separate you. Those kind of things we just saw from Tulane and all those things, that's available to you. All of this is available to you, okay? So please, please, jump in there with both feet. And I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because I need someday to take my president's job at the bank, because I want to retire. And I want all you kids to be an example to everybody that's saying they can't do it. because there's not a single person that's going to be part of Pathway that doesn't believe that you can. If you lead an effort, okay? So I'm in it to win it. I know this man is. That's why I agreed to do what I did. And sometimes we kind of have a lot of fun with some discussions, but that's another thing. But it's okay. It's everything we do is to make sure you have an opportunity to reach as high as God gave you the ability to do. Okay? So we love you. Thank y'all for being here.
The next person that I want to introduce, man, he's been working, he's 17 years in one business, saw the mission, and jumped ship, and that is hard to do. That is very hard to do, but I'm very blessed to have him, and that's our CFO, COO, Tommy Moore. And then the last person for today, trust me, there's lots of introductions coming to you guys. We've got teachers that I'm not ready to introduce to you yet, but one person that I am, people keep asking me, is there going to be sports at Pathway? Will there be sports? We are already working right now to build out the sports program, calling coaches, making countless phone calls. You probably already heard from him, is Coach Keegan Clark. He's already getting football schedule set and volleyball schedule set. So he's working on that right now, guys. We'll have that released pretty soon to you. All right. Any words from either of you? Okay. All right, now everybody can watch him while he's doing virtual reality.
And he already took off about 2 instructions, and he's gone.
2 instructions and he's gone.
Look, he's using his cut plane tool with his right hand, so he's cutting him open, slicing him open. This is the fly, and so if you cut on the top of, you see that big bulky area on the top? Yep. So all of those white stripes, does anybody know what those are? So this is on his back, on the fly's back. Any guesses? There where his wings are. So what do you think he needs there to move his wings? Muscles. Yeah. All of that, that's all muscle. So he's like a little fly bodybuilder. He's got tons of muscles. So think about if you had wings, you'd have a big old hump too with big old muscles because you need those muscles to lift you up off the ground. So it's amazing. We have scientists that study these tiny creatures, and then they get to see them in VR, and they spend hours and hours in here because they've never seen them in this way before. Because you can blow him up. See how big you can make him. Oh.
Going inside that love.
You can take it off if you want. But he's not taking it off, see? Not taking it off. And guys, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to be a scientist, guys, we'll still have these same experiences for welding, for construction, for nursing, for whatever it is that you want to do. We're going to find you experiences, and all that stuff is in that pamphlet. I wanted to give you an opportunity to read and see what it's going to feel like and be like at Pathway. And so you've got some reading there. I'll quickly go over the mission statement. I think, what time is it?
6:56.
6:56. I had one other person that wanted to talk to you, but that's going to be via Zoom. And I promised her she'd get to talk to you.
Do it.
Yeah. All right. We'll get her to talk to you.
So what is that?
Anybody know what this is? What is he looking at?
How about giving them some hints?
Or something. Not letting, but they're trying hard to get this.
He got it right away.
Right away. This is a two-toed sloth. So we have, now this is just his head. We do have his whole body. That's another skin. You can see his tongue sticking out there. Does anybody want to guess why his tongue's sticking out?
Quick question, parents. How many of you seen your kids this excited to do homework? Anybody? Tyson? Is he excited? You love homework, Tyson? We'll give you lots of it. Lots of it. But when learning is authentic, right? We can't continue to prepare our kids for the past, right? We got to prepare them in future learning. We got to keep up with the tech. We've got to have our kids creating the tech, right? It's right here at our fingertips. Why not explore it? Yes, sir.
Can you give us like an example of what a just a normal class would be like? Something that would be like basic at a public school.
Yeah,
well, it's
absolutely.
a public school also, but what you know, can you explain to us what would be like?
It's a great question. So, I didn't pay him to ask that question. So, to answer that question, what I'd like you to do is look at page 1, and let's go over the mission. Is she there? Is she ready? Okay. Tell her, text her back and tell her 2 minutes. Pathway Academy, we cultivate an environment conducive for students to become the best versions of themselves through personal connection, individualized instruction, and servant leadership. So we're going to talk about those 3 things first. Personal connections. So as soon as a student comes into Pathway, the first thing they do is they go in their homeroom. We want to teach our students to be strong with character. And that first thing is trust. And so we start with, we hadn't named them yet. So Doc Robertson, this is not the name, but it's called a Pathway Circle. So you'll have 15 students who sit in a circle, and they sit with their teacher, and the first thing they do, the teacher does, is they check on the kid. On a scale from 1 to 10, tell me how you're feeling today. And every kid does that every day until the kids can trust each other with how they're really feeling. And then there's a follow-up. Okay, you told me you were feeling at a 2, you were feeling at an 8. Tell us why you're feeling at an 8. Tell us why you're feeling at a 2. Then there's another teacher follow-up. Once the kids break out, hey, why were you feeling at a 2? Let's dig further. Why? Because personal connections are the most important thing to us. I don't care if your kid I care if your kid learns. But they can't learn if they don't feel safe. They can't learn if they're being bullied at school. And so we have to first check on a kid before we can do anything else. So we spend 30 minutes in homeroom checking on kids every day, non-negotiable. There aren't any announcements. There's no homework checking. There's no badgering the kid because he don't have a pencil. First thing, no dress code check first thing. First thing, how are you doing? And then we teach kids how to check on each other. And what that does is that builds community. Now, after first period's over, and now we're feeling good about ourselves, everybody's okay, we've had a chance to express ourselves, we're going to our second period class. Our second period class, so I've got big dreams, big visions. So we can look one of 2 ways, all right? First way is, I came into class, I already know what I'm going to be whenever I get older, and so I start on my math lesson for the day, and then I get to do that through technology. So there's a teacher in the classroom with me, yes, but the learning is first placed on me to try to learn myself. Because what if I don't need a teacher, right? What if I'm quick enough to pick it up at my own pace and now I'm off and ready to go? So we give the kid the opportunity to learn on their own via technology. Now, if you need some help, that's when the teachers pull in 3 kids at a time so that the student can feel more comfortable to ask questions, so that the teacher can really diagnose if there is an issue. We only do small group instruction that's teacher-led. All the other instruction is done by the student. There's a video that the teacher records of himself doing it. That's the first way. The second way is that instead of having your internship later in the day, you start with your internship second period. And you get to use virtual reality to explore your construction site for the day. And then your construction site is going to tell you, okay, hey, here's a mathematical problem if you're into construction, right? Here's a mathematical problem. We got to build this site up, and we need to figure out what angles this site needs to be. So that's math class. Then science is in. Okay, well, today the weather's going to be this. How is this going to affect our site? So that's science. Social studies. Can you compare this building to a building in 1942? So that's your social studies. Right? So everything you do is woven into the internship. That's the second way. I have my researchers developing the curriculum that the state says that we have to do into each one of those right now. If we can do it for the whole year, that's the way Pathway will look. You'll come in, you might not even go to math or science that day. You'll just stay in the class. Kids have freedom. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate, so I'll be long-winded about this answer. But I talked to a private school guy. He runs a private school in Midland called Midland Classical. I think it's Midland Classical. Anyway, he said, you public schools got it all wrong. You tell your kids when to turn in their homework, when to go to class, when to eat lunch, when to leave lunch, when they can use the bathroom, and then they graduate and don't know how to manage their own freedom. So at Pathway, we give our kids freedom, right? So if you don't want to be in that class right now, you want to go sit on a beanbag, go sit on a beanbag. But your homework you do. If you would rather go shoot a basketball, you want to go to the courtyard and go shoot a basketball for a little while because your mind, you've had a rough day. And right now you can't learn math. Go shoot a basketball. But your homework's due. You know what? You're having a little trouble in math. And so you don't need to sit in your English class today. You need to go to your math teacher for a tutoring lesson. Well, go get tutored. So we teach kids how to manage their own freedom. It won't start like that day one, but by the 3rd week of school, they're able to go manage their own freedom. So we are truly preparing kids for life after graduation. So that's what it'll look like. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So it's personal connections, individualized instruction, and then problem solving. All day long, that's what we want to create kids to do. Yes, ma'am?
Is the freedom to a degree?
Yes, there's a trespass.
Okay.
There's a trespass. You have to stay on campus, and there are one of 3 areas you can go to. You can go here because this isn't our campus yet. Our campus will actually be built for this, right? So there'll be different pods that people can go. But here, right, there's like a tutoring, there's a study hall, and there's a courtyard. So you can go to one of those 3 places.
And that's if they're like caught up on everything?
That's if they're on track. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we actually use a data management system called Beacon. And so Beacon houses every student's work, and it tells us whether the student is on pace, ahead of pace, or behind pace. Now, you get your trespass, and you can use your trespass, even if you're behind pace. But by the time your mastery check comes on, there's a mastery check once every 3 weeks. If you're still behind pace and you haven't learned and you haven't went to study hall, you actually lose your trespass. Because there's accountability in the real world, right?
Yes.
It's not just freedom, there's accountability. So, and we teach kids all about that process as well. So the freedom is you can go to one of these 3 areas. You must manage your homework appropriately. You must manage your work appropriately. And if you do, then you get to learn how you need to learn in order to be successful. If you don't, you lose your trust, and now you have to stay in your home room while your friends get to go play basketball when they want to.
Kind of like a reward system.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You go to work, you get to take a vacation. So it's the real world. All right, guys, I've got one more person that wants to talk to you.